Congratulations to South Carolina on winning the 2023-24 National Championship. Obviously, in this video, we are going to recap the game and throw flowers at Dawn Staley. We will also look at how this game impacts Caitlin Clark's legacy in women's college basketball. And then lastly, we will take a way too early look at Charlie Creme's top 5 for the 2024-25 season. But before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. Now, I said it in my preview video, but this was a legacy game for Dawn Staley and Caitlin Clark. But in truth, I thought there was a lot more pressure on Dawn Staley. And you could see the relief after they won the national championship. She was crying and took a little while to compose herself. And the reason for the pressure on her is it's quite clear you don't want to be the coach that had a record of 108 and 4 losses, and 2 of those losses being the national championship game. You can't go undefeated 2 years in a row during the season and in the tournament only to lose the championship. And instead of that being the narrative, it is now that the Gamecocks are 109-3 in the last 3 seasons and have won 2 out of 3 championships. The most impressive thing that Dawn Staley has done this year is she learned from the mistakes of the past, which is basically what our weaknesses were, and turned it into a strength. And this is not rocket science. Essentially, she got herself some shooters. So last year in the national championship game, South Carolina out-rebounded Iowa 49-25. They were plus 24 on the boards, but it didn't matter because they only shot 39% from the field and 20% from the three-point line. I thought after the tough loss to Iowa last year, Staley handled it with class, and then she took a look at things and obviously got Te-Hina Paopao through the portal. And while everybody else, including me, was focusing on LSU and their high-profile portal gets of Anissa Morrow and Haley Van Lith, it got much overlooked that South Carolina had just acquired the perfect piece for their team. Now, South Carolina and their fans can say they were disrespected by being the number 8 seed to start off the season, but in truth, they did not know what they had until they came out on a rocket versus Notre Dame. And this is where you really need to give flowers to Dawn Staley, as she kept that team focused, but at the same time, let them be who they were, being a loose team. But more importantly, she went on to develop the team the whole entire season, as it would have been easy to make it the freshman full Wiley show, but she didn't do that. She invested time in Tessa Johnson, as she recognized that was the important piece, as she is a big guard, 6'1", that can shoot that rainbow jumper that's so pretty and goes in. And her size gives them a different look in terms of Te-Hina Paopao, who's 5'9", Full Wiley, who's 5'10", and Raven Johnson, who's 5'8". Now, Raven Johnson is getting a lot of flowers for holding Caitlin Clark to 30 points on 10 for 28 shooting and 5 for 13 from 3. And she did a great job, no doubt, but the true flowers should be going to Tessa Johnson and Te-Hina Paopao. Johnson went for 19 points on 7 of 11 shooting. She was 3 for 6 from three-point range. Te-Hina Paopao went for 14 points on 4 for 7 shooting and went 3 for 4 on three-point shots. And that allowed South Carolina to win the field goal percentage battle at 47% to 39% for Iowa, and the three-point percentage battle as they shot 42% from 3 and Iowa 39%. When you combine that with South Carolina beating them up on the boards 51-29, giving them a plus 22 advantage on the boards, not to mention they had 18 offensive rebounds as well, just giving those extra looks, that game was over. That's why they won the game. So it's Dawn Staley investing in shooting, getting shooting to South Carolina, and it's just as simple as that. In terms of Caitlin Clark's legacy, she will go down as the best offensive player in women's college basketball history. And Iowa was a fun show to watch, as everybody likes offense combined with logo three-pointers. But it was interesting watching her, Caitlin Clark, in the postgame, as I think she'll come to terms with this loss pretty quickly, as it was pretty clear South Carolina was the better team. I think she and Bluter know that their best chance to win the chip was last year, and the loss of Cesano and Warnicki was just too much to overcome. And for her, it will be on to bigger and better things, going to the WNBA and combining with Aaliyah Boston. It's very interesting how they will be teammates, combining forces to see if they can win a championship in the WNBA. Now, on my channel, I like Caitlin Clark fine, but I've shied away from doing too much content on her, and my reasoning was this. Everybody covers Caitlin Clark. And frankly, I just found some of the other stories more interesting because you can only go on so much about what a great offensive player she is. I think there are more interesting stories out there. The UConn injuries and how Gino was trying to piece together that team. Dawn Staley taking her parts, and then the whole LSU thing just had to be covered. And I do recognize that there's so much fawning over Caitlin Clark that it gets nauseating at some point when they're constantly showing her dad in the stands and all of that. It's like, enough. Just show us the damn game at times. But overall, it's quite clear she's been a good servant of the game and has done a heck of a lot for it to draw attention to it. And I am hoping that Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark can help take the WNBA to the next level. Now let's flip the page to 2024-25 college basketball season. The number one team in Charlie Cream's way too early top 25 is South Carolina. What a surprise. As the only part they lose is Cardoso, which seems like could be admirably filled by Ashlyn Watkins, or even Sakima Walker potentially might be the big for next year. But either way, they are stacked. As well, they have a good incoming recruiting class, highlighted by forward Joyce Edwards, the number 2 rated recruit in the country. Number 2 is Texas, and the thinking is Madison Booker combined with a healthy Roy Harmon will be devastating in the backcourt. Plus, they bring back Aaliyah Moore, Deanna Gadsden as well. They have a good recruiting class as well, with the 6'2 Justice Carlton, the post player, and Jordan Lee. As well, don't forget that Texas is moving to the SEC along with Oklahoma, so there should be some fun matchups with Texas and South Carolina, which I already am looking forward to. Number 3 is surprising. Charlie Cream has Notre Dame at number 3. However, he does ask the question that everybody wants to know is how will the 2 point guards, Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, share the ball? As it's hard to envision taking the ball out of Hidalgo's hands as she's so good, but at the same time, it's hard seeing Olivia Miles playing off the ball as she has not really been a good shooter throughout her career. Charlie Cream has UConn at 4. I probably would have had them at 3, but I understand the hesitation with all the injuries in the past. UConn is obviously excited to land number 1 recruit Sarah Strong, but even bigger for them is how will Jana El-Alfi return after her Achilles injury. And finally, number 5 is the USC Trojans. It will be fun to watch them adjust to playing in the Big Ten, and how Juju Watkins adjusts from playing with 3 graduate seniors to freshmen, as they have the number 1 freshman class coming in. I can't wait to watch how her game evolves from freshman to sophomore year. It should be fun. And to be sure, we will cover it all. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.